Okay, assalamu alaikum and greetings of peace to everyone. I am Tahira J. Taladeen, and I am the founder of Hearts Connecting. And Hearts Connecting is a virtual funeral and memorial service, and we facilitate virtual funerals for family and friends who are unable to attend their loved one's funeral or memorial in person. We also started and founded a Muslim widow and women of faith grief support group back in March of 2021. And I want to share with you why I started my business, why we started Muslim Widows, and why do we have these beautiful sisters alongside me. So back in July of 2020, my dear husband, Antar Jana, may Allah have mercy on his soul and grant him paradise. I mean, he transitioned, he passed away at the height of the pandemic. And when Antar passed away, my family and friends were back east, and I had to bury my husband without my loved ones by. And I asked my friend if she can record his service so that his family and friends can honor him and pay their respects virtually. So my dear friend, she did that. And I watched a recording of his janaza that followed that same evening, and it brought so much comfort to my heart. And that is when the seed of Hearts Connecting was planted. And fast forward, I went through my grieving process without that support base here in California because it was during the pandemic, and I knew that I needed support. So I joined a local widow person support group in Sacramento, and it was all virtual. And I got so much comfort and validation for the grieving process that I was in and how I was feeling. And it gave me some clarity, some psychological clarity with all the challenges that I was facing as a widow and grieving my husband, as Antar was my everything. And what I noticed in the support group is that I was the only Muslim woman in this group. And I was the only African American woman in this group. And I knew then that there was a need for other Muslim women to have a space to go through the grieving process and the healing process of after losing a spouse, because I know that I was judged for grieving for my husband for too long. And that was like only 4 months after he passed away. And there was a point in my grieving process where I felt just a little ashamed or something was wrong that I was still mourning my husband due to other comments that people were making who didn't lose a spouse. And I met sisters along my journey who were still like suffering in silence. I'm talking about 19 years after their spouse passed away because they never had that non-judgmental space to just let their hearts just break after such a devastating loss. And I felt uh not compelled, but I felt like I was like appointed by Allah to start this widow support group and to hold a space for the widows, because widows are they're looked upon as like a noble position in Islam. And as I did some research regarding the position of the widow, there is a hadith that I always use when I'm speaking about the widow support group, is that those who take care of the widow and those in need are like warriors striving in the way of Allah, like one who fasts all during the day and pray all during the night. And I knew that I wanted to be one of those warriors who was striving in the way of Allah to provide a safe space for these women to feel okay and validated that losing your spouse is one of the most devastating events that an adult can face. And that's backed by science.
Mm.
And this has been one of my greatest honors to start this support group and to support the widows as I support myself. So I just want to um, begin this discussion. Is an interview, but is a discussion. You're going to get a glimpse of what we experience in our support group. And I want to have the sisters introduce themselves in a manner in which we introduce ourselves in the support group, okay? So I'll model as I always. And then we'll have Sister Latifa, then Sister Rashida. So here, this is how we begin our support group after we go through our intention or introduction. My name is Tahira J. Taladeen, and I reside in Sacramento. I was married to my husband, Antar Jana, for 7.5 years, and Antar passed away in July of 2020.
Thank you. Peace and blessings, my sisters and brothers that are watching. My name is Latifa Abdul-Jabbar. I'm a native Harlemite, was living in the Bronx. I'm still a resident of that. I've been in Fairburn, Georgia now for 2 years. My husband, Harold Mays, transitioned 2 years ago in April of 2020. And I'm so happy and thankful to Allah to be a part of this group.
Thank you, Sister Latifa. Sister Rashida?
Assalamu alaikum to everyone. My name is Rashida Ahmed. I live in Watertown, Massachusetts. My husband, Lukman Abdul Haq. He made his transition for Allah on April the 20th, 2020. We were married for 47 years.
Thank you so much. This always touches my heart. Ugh. But I may end up crying during this interview because it's a very sensitive time for me right now. And we'll go into that during the interview, like anniversaries. This is tomorrow, December 20th would make a year, would have made 10 years since I left New York to move to California, and December 22nd, which is like 3 days away, would have marked Antar and I 10th year wedding anniversary. So I'm going through all sorts of emotions and feelings, and it's not easy, but here we are. So we're going to just jump right in there, right? And I want to so one of the intentions for us coming together today and recording this and sharing this with those who with the audience is like, we have 3 intentions. The first one is for us to just be honest in our experience, like share ourselves openly about our journey as widows and going through our grieving process and how we were able to overcome some of those challenges and what were some of those challenges, just to show off ourselves in this, right? Another intention why we're coming together is to focus on that sister who has lost her husband and who is going through her grieving process, and to know that she's not alone in this process. It's very important for her to know that you're not alone. And then the third is to educate those who may not understand what a widow goes through after the passing of her spouse, and to raise awareness of this support group, and to also share what we have next coming. And we'll put that out there because we are in the middle of a fundraiser, and we want to share how you can support this group, because this group is free to all women, widows, to attend. So those are our intentions as to why we are gathered here today. So we're going to jump right in there. I want to go into like the heart of the challenge, right? Because we've been faced with many challenges and as we move through the passing of our spouses. But I also like to focus on, with the challenges, how have we triumphed those challenges? So Sister Latifa, what has been the hardest challenge to overcome after the passing of your beloved spouse? And most importantly, how has that led to your biggest breakthrough? Because there have been growing pains through this process. So can you share with us that, please, dear sister?
Yes. For me, the biggest challenge was not being able to speak to him, not to be able to relate to somebody that I related to for many years. You do things on the outside and then you come home and you want to tell them about it. I felt myself getting ready to do that, and that was really hard. What helped me was that my daughter came to us when I told her my husband was going into emergency, and we thought he was just going to be there and coming right back. because of COVID. And having her there with me from April to November helped so much. How I got over or how I got through and how I am still getting through it, I've become more communicative with Allah. I've gotten closer and I listen more. And it's so beautiful, that part of it, of going. Now, Harold and I were supposed to go to Aruba in 2020. And COVID came and he passed, so we didn't go. This year, this month, week before last, I went there. I didn't know how it was going to be. My sister, my brother-in-law, his cousin, and Anissa, that's my daughter, my son-in-law, my newest grandbaby. We were there together. And I was coming through fine, so I thought. And I was sitting on the beach, and all of a sudden, I just felt the loss. I can't tell you what went through me. I really can't, but I felt the loss, and the tears started flowing. And it was coming from my soul. And my sister came over and she asked me, was I okay? And she felt me and she saw it and she just looked at me and she moved on and let me have my space. So to answer your question, that was my biggest challenge.
Thank you so much, Sister Latifah, for always sharing so openly and so honestly and so true. We feel you and we appreciate you. Sister Rashida, I'm going to ask the same question. Like, what has been the hardest challenge for you to overcome after the passing of your beautiful, loving husband? And what has led to your biggest breakthrough?
My challenge was when my husband was sick. The challenge I had is my husband had Alzheimer's, and it was difficult for him and me because my husband always likes to talk, and we always traveled together. You know what I mean? And communicating with him, communicating with him, it was a hard time for me. And but you know what I mean? Knowing, I feel that he knew I was always there, because he always, every time I'm there, he always has this big smile on his face. That tells me that he probably recognized me, because during that time, he didn't even know my name during the process of his illness with the disease. And just, but you know, it just made me that happy that he did recognize me by my face. My name, he could not tell me my name. He didn't, that's how things got difficult for him. But it just, it's hard when that happens, because we always used to travel together, you know. Every year we go to the convention, Ramadan session, any event that Imam Muhammad was having, you know, be peace on his soul. My husband was likes to travel, and we always used to go traveling. Just being not there now is it's difficult, because you do get the sadness, and then you get, you know, sorrow, sadness, and sometimes it's happiness. But just not having him there to talk, or just places that you used to go to, and you can't go that now because of what happened to him. But the program, I mean, the program, when I started to the women's support group, it was very difficult for me to even talk about him or even mention his name. It was just hard to without getting all sad and crying. I just couldn't even talk about it. I just couldn't even talk to people about it because I didn't really think they really understand. When you're going through these process, it's a grieving. I learned that what I was going through was a grieving process, and that's what it. Grieving takes steps. It's a process of taking steps, little steps
Absolutely.
at a time.
And and I'm glad you mentioned that because we have is a 6-week workshop that we have, and we have 6 different topics that we focus on. The first is understanding grief, and that's what Sister Rashida is alluding to. Like grief, it's a process with you to grieve, and you don't get over it in one moment. You don't get over it after one cry. There are stages to grief, and it's a process to grief. And grief is a very personal journey that you don't compare with anyone else, because we all are on our own journey and our own path with respects to our from where we come from, our background, how we comprehend and process grief and pain, and also is very personal between you and Allah and how you move through that journey. So that is what Sister Rashida is touching on, and we'll go over more of what the sessions entail in terms of our topics. But I want to move to the next question, and that is, why did you register for the Widow Support Group? Like, can you share why? Because many sisters have learned about the workshop, and we know that everyone has a choice, and some may choose not to take the workshop, and it's okay if they don't, because you don't need anything other than to breathe and to know who your Lord is, so you don't need this workshop to survive in life. It's an option, it's a tool. But you two, you also, I just want to say to the audience that they represent many of the widows who attend the workshop but chose not to share their story on camera. Some are just there, they wanted to, but they're just not ready yet emotionally to show themselves and talk about their journey. And it's okay, but these are one of our 2 sisters that's representing the many of the sisters who attend the workshops. So again, like, why did you choose to register into the Muslim Widow Women of Faith Grief Support Group? And I'll start with you, Sister Rashida.
Well, I didn't know about it. My daughter connected me to the Women's Support Group. And when she told me about it, I really didn't want to come because personal feelings, ventilating my feelings. I'm not used to doing that. So, she kept on me, and I finally came to the program, and I just couldn't even hardly explain myself. I was so, still had that soreness, grieving, sadness, hard to just, every time I open my mouth, with sadness, I start crying. But my daughter connected me there, and I was glad she did, because it's a space. I found out that heart connecting is a space of safe space for you to ventilate your feelings. You know what I mean? Help you to grieve. Is a service that allows Hearts Connect to facilitate comfort and during that loss of your loved one. And I really needed it, because I really, other than my family and my daughter, was no other safe place to go to talk or ventilate your feeling of how you felt through the loss of your husband. And so I really, it played an impact on my life during my healing and recovery. I'm able to talk about my husband. You're still gonna have that wholeness there, and you're still gonna have that sadness, but now I'm able to talk about it. And I think with the blessing of Allah and the support group really helped the process open, try to go forward, because it's gonna always be there. And I thank Sister Tahira for that.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Rashida, for sharing that. And the same question to you, Sister Latifa. Like, why did you choose to register into the widow support group? Because it was a choice. Why did you choose to register and to join?
Well, the imam that called me and told me about it, I trust him and his wisdom. And he would tell me that you had started a group for sisters. Also, during that time, Harold passed in April of 2020. That's when, COVID had just started. Well, we became aware of it in February. And ordinarily, I would have been going out to the masjid. I would have been around more people. I would have been around my family more. I was here with my daughter and then later my son-in-law. And I felt that I needed to be able to speak and to be able to listen to what was being said. I needed that. I needed that. And thank Allah that I went, because it brought me so much peace and comfort, and I felt comfortable. And in hearing other sisters like Sister Rashida and Sister Tahira sharing what it meant to them, and just they're losing their spouses, what that meant to them, and hearing, and there were sisters who didn't talk, but I needed being around them. And the more we came together, the easier it was for me. So I do really thank Allah that I went. It has helped me so much, so very much.
So I know, and thank you again, Sister Latifa, for just sharing openly and honestly, as you always do. I know, for myself, like, when, as I always share with you all, like, I facilitate this workshop, but I'm also a part of this workshop. And there are sessions where you all can attest to where I'm leading and I'm facilitating, and I'm like, I'm hitting all the bullet points on the presentation slide. And then there are moments where it's like, I need a space for myself as well. And I show up, I cry, I talk about my journey and my process of where I am. And share this a little bit more openly. Like, I'm at that stage where I still miss my husband, and I'm also open for love again, and I have that desire to want to marry again and want to be loved and to love. So that's a process, and when met with disappointment or setbacks, is where I really retreat and I miss Antar more. And that is my safe space, my psychological and emotional safe space, to kind of go back to Antar. And I don't know if it's really an idea, because if I'm not really going back to him, so it must be the idea of what was between him and I, or the bond that we created. So for me, what I appreciate this support group, because it's beneficial, because it gives a space to just cry and just be honest and get whatever is troubling myself out of my mind, and let my heart like lift the burden from my heart, and knowing that I'm with sisters who understand. So I wanted to just add that in there. I want to focus now on your husbands, right? Because part of the process of grief is that appreciation stage of knowing the kind of men we were married to, the beauty of who our husbands were. And we talk about this and reminding each other that we are women who are blessed, because we are women who can genuinely and truly express that we had good marriages, regardless of the rocky roads or the bumps that were ahead that you had to overcome, that we can say we had good men. And I want to give you both an opportunity to, share about your husbands. Like, what do you want the world to know about the kind of man your husband was, Sister Rashida?
My husband was a loving, strong man who I feel He was transitioned to Allah too soon. But he was a loving guy, protector. In the Quran say he's supposed to be your protector, and he was. Okay, and he always liked to help people. He always, if you see him, he has a Quran, and he talking to people about it. He was a strong man, a family man. He loved his daughter. He loved his grandson. They always played together. He was there with the family. We always, he's a person that, he was a hard worker, put it that way. And he was just a loving guy of my life. He likes to read. He always with the Quran and the Arabic, trying to help me, but I'm not that great with it, but he was there. If I needed anything, I had to go somewhere, he was there to text me. Shopping, if I needed something, he was there to text me. I mean, he was there at my side. He was, I think back to days when we just doing our walks together, just missing sitting down, talking. Now it's no one there to make that decision with you. You on your own right now, with the help of Allah, but your husband is not there. You know what I mean? And when he got sick, it was just, tough battle.
I want to take a moment to highlight what Sister Rashida said, and this is something that we go over and we really expound upon when it comes to like changing roles in relationship and overcoming loneliness. Sister Rashida mentioned something that most widows and widow person go, and that is no one to talk to at the end of the day. Like that is the process of when you're changing roles in relationship and overcoming loneliness and the effect of losing a loved one, or you have to now make decisions without your spouse. Like those are some challenges that we face, or when you have to fill out any legal documents and the option is married, single. Sometimes they don't have a widow option, or you're actually now filling out a document where you have to now consider who is my emergency contact now. Like it's no longer Antar, is no longer my spouse, or I'm filing as widowed, or I'm filling a document as widowed. Like this is what Sister Rashida is talking to in terms of like changing roles and relationships and some of the challenges that you would be faced. And thank you, Sister Rashida. And for you, Sister Latifa, like what do you want the world to know about your husband? Like what kind of man was Brother Harold?
Those who were around him and that he was comfortable being around, he loved to dance. He loved music. Thank you. I'm just going to plug this in because I forgot to plug this in as we were.
Oh yeah.
When we had our little break, I'm like, oh my gosh, I looked up.
Yeah. This is what it is when we are dealing with our technology.
Yes, we don't have a staff here that's taking care of that.
Yeah, it's all good.
He loved that. He loved to laugh, and he loved our children. My two oldest are not his biological children, but he said, and he told folks, these are my children. He had 3 children. And he loved spending time with them, doing things with them. And he was the one at home who did the laundry. He did the laundry. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
And he washed the house. I put a spoon down. I'd be in the kitchen cooking, put a spoon down. I turn around to get something. He's washing the spoon. I had to literally put my hand on the utensils and say, please do not touch it. I'm still using it. And I didn't have to worry about the clothes being done. And then later on, when we got older into our retirement more,
Yeah.
he would take the clothes to because we had a washing machine downstairs. he would take the clothes up the street to a laundromat and have the people clean it. That's the kind of person he was. He was so helpful to me and to the children. He loved people, he loved being around, but if there were certain people that were dishonest or they, they didn't, he just didn't feel good around them. He didn't want to be around them. And he wouldn't say anything to them either. I mean, literally would not talk to them. We could be in there having a conversation. Or he would excuse himself and go into another room. But
Like,
he
he's
was
not fake and phony. You're not gonna get a fake and phony out of him, huh?
no, you would not get that from him at all. And
Yes.
we laugh about it, me and the children, my sister, we laugh about that, about how he was. And sometimes I'm just sitting down now and I'll be around somebody and I say to myself, oh boy, if Harold was around this person, this is what he would be doing now. And I get a kick out of it. Yeah. So that was my Harold.
That's beautiful. I love it. I love it. Like, what I really love about moments like this is, especially when we have it, the group, is like, we get to say our spouses, our late spouse's name, and just reflect on the good times and share the good character that they had. And we get to see our husbands in each other, because it's like they correlate in one way or another. And I appreciate when we get to reflect on it. I know for myself, there's a long list of what I can say about the kind of man Antar was, just a long list. But I always like to share this, and I share this with the group, but I share with you all, is like, Antar, he taught me about peace and ease. Antar was the kind of man, he was a peaceful man. He was a kind man for certain, but I remember when I first got into the vehicle with him, we were driving, there was like no talking, like it was just silent. We were playing music and we were driving. Well, he was driving, and I just experienced like the first time ever being in silence with someone and it not feel awkward. And it was just like the car was just like filled with peace and ease. And I'm like, wow, this was the first time that I ever experienced peace and ease on that level in life. And I knew, like, I have to spend the rest of my life with him. So the kind of man Antar was, he was a peaceful man, and he was an easy man, and a very kind man. And I can talk about his genius and his brilliance and all that, but at the end of the day, when he's off the stage and the door closed, my husband was a peaceful and easy man. And I want the world to just know that about him. So we're going to wrap things up pretty soon. I also know, like, we in our support group, we have women from all spectrums. We have sisters who were married to their husbands for like 1 year, some 12 years, some were married up to like 40 plus years. We have young sisters in the group, sisters who are in their 30s who lost their spouse and are raising young children, and who are going through those challenges of raising their children without their spouses, to sisters who have adult children, and they have experienced like more years with their spouses than a young couple. So we have sisters from all over the spectrum who have lost a spouse and who are benefiting from these workshops. I want you to speak to the sister who is listening. The young sister who's raising her child without the father and her husband, and to the older sister who has grandchildren. Why do you think a sister who choose to register for this program will benefit from this? Like, what advice or what appeal would you say to that young or older sister who lost her spouse and may feel that lost, as I know I did. I know when Antar passed away, I couldn't even fathom seeing my life 40 years out. Like, it literally like pained me to think, how am I going to survive and live life without him. I could not even fathom that. Like, I couldn't even see beyond the hand in front of my face. So I know other sisters are experiencing that, especially if they're newly widowed. What advice or words of comfort or wisdom do you have for that sister who is where you were in those initial stages after the passing of your husband? And I'll kick it off to you first, Sister Latifa.
What I say to you, sister, is where you are right now is where you are now. Things you will hear in our sessions, things you will experience, things that you'll hear inside of you that no other sister is talking about, will help to move you on and help you to cope with yourself and with life without your spouse. Every phase of our life has moved from point A to point B and on and on. And when we were at that point, at that time, we didn't know what was going to happen next. When you married your husband, you really didn't know what was going to happen in the marriage, but you trusted in the Creator, whom I choose to call Allah. And you trusted that this relationship was going to go someplace where you wanted to go. And sometimes it didn't go where you wanted to go, but you stayed there. I was married before, and it didn't go where I thought it should have gone. At the phase where I was then, I was younger, I was not as mature. So we mature, we learn, and we move on. Give it a try, sister. Come in with an open heart and an open mind, and listen not only to us who are talking, but listen to yourself and be truthful to yourself. Be helpful to yourself. Be willing to take that road that you never traveled before. Be willing. When you lost your husband, that was a road that you had not traveled before. And you were there then, whether it was last year, a few months ago, or 20 years ago. It happened. And when you're truthful to yourself and you look at yourself now and you say, wow, look where I've come. That's what's going to happen to you when you come to Hearts Connected. When you come in, you go to a doctor, don't you? You don't know what's going to happen when you go to that doctor, but you have faith that there's going to be some sort of change, a positive change. Sometimes it is, and sometimes it's not. But you went there. We open up our arms, we open our hands, and we open our hearts to you because our hearts are connected. And we have different marriages because those are different personalities, just like we're not the same. Me, Sister Rashida, Sister Tahira, we're not the same. We had an experience that was similar, but not equal, not the same. And we've come in and we've grown. We know who these sisters are that we're with, and we know who that sister is that we're looking in the mirror at. So I'm saying, open up, trust the Creator, be willing to stand up, be willing to listen and to grow and get better. Because I assure you, the sister that comes in that first session is not the sister that ends at the end of that cycle. And you're not going to be the same sister when you go into the third or fourth round. You're not going to be, but you don't know what you're going to be. When you stay away, you don't know what you're missing. Come and join. If you just keep your video off, you're welcome to do that. Sister Tahira doesn't force you to do anything. If you don't even want to introduce yourself when you come on, you don't have to. You don't have to turn the mic on. You don't have to say anything. And I've witnessed some sisters coming in and not wanting to talk. And by the time we got finished, I was like, That's the same person. Woo, look, listen to that sister. And it's so great. So I'm saying, come in and experience it. And we are here. We are your sisters. And we respect you and we will respect you. Sister Tahira respects us. She continues to respect us. Come, my sister, and join Hearts Connected.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Sister Latifa, for sharing that. You know, you brought up some really great reminders, like how you are is okay. How you show up is okay. Some sisters come on, is on the Zoom platform, and some sisters show up with their microphones on or their cameras on, and some keep their microphones off and cameras off. Like, this workshop is about you. It's about what your needs are and to meet and fulfill your needs. So just coming in and listening benefits you in great ways. And I only say that because of what Sister Latifa said and what other sisters who attend these workshops have said, how it's helping them. It does heal them in their totality, but it's a tool and an avenue that supports you in your healing process. So thank you so much, Sister Latifa. Sister Rashida, same question to you. Like, what advice or words of comfort and wisdom would you say to the sister who is listening, who lost her spouse and may need that additional support? What would you have to say to her?
I would say to her that
And I'm going to ask that you bring your camera up because your chin is cut off. So I want to make sure we get all of your beauty, sunshine.
I don't know if you can see it now.
Yeah, that's better. That's better.
Okay. I would say to them that it's a tough battle. But when I first came to the program, I feel like I was a mess. I mean, it was tough and hard because I didn't want it to talk, because I was, it was personal feeling, going through talking before people was just something I would do. And when I came to Heart Connecting, to the widow group, it was different. I was able to talk about my grieving process and the things I was going through, that I thought it was something I was doing wrong, because people don't give you that advice outside of that. And I just find understanding that that's what the process, that's what I was going through, the process of grieving. And that's okay. If you don't, it's a process that we have to, it's like stages, going through stages, that we have to come, talk, and just try to listen. If you don't want to say anything, that's fine. But for me, when I came, now I'm able to talk. I'm able to mention my husband's name, Luqman Abdul Haq. I'm able to mention his name, without getting very, very upset about it. But I was able to talk and carry that conversation. But the program is a stage you have to go through. It will get better. It's hard. The Quran says there's a sword that says, with its ease, the difficulty, there's ease. And you will see that will happen when you come to the program, going through the stages, because it's the program for widows that we never had that. So now we have that. It's a program that the sister have for we as Muslim women going through, who lost their loved one. I mean, it's a hard task, but it will get better. You just have to trust in Allah that it will get better. And you're gonna have some rough road, rugged hills to come up. Start from the bottom, you're gonna come up. But it's gonna be tough at the beginning, but as it goes on, slowly goes on, like little baby steps, it will ease, it will get better. I'm not saying it's gonna go away all the way, it's not, but you will be able to at a comfort point where you can sit down, you could talk about it, you know what I mean? With other people, it's like a family being here. And it's a safe space for you to cry, talk about your loved one, whatever you want to do. But, you know, the Heart Connecting program really helped me, played a positive impact on my healing recovery. And so I'm saying to you, come to Heart Connecting. It's a beautiful group that will help you go through your stages, your sorrow, your grieving process, your coping, the whole bit. And that will help. It helped me. You know, you do get those ups and downs, but I'm able to talk about it. That's the key. I'm able to talk about it. Before, I was not able to do that. And I thank Allah that I'm able to talk about it. And I thank Sister Tahira for the program that she have here for sisters. So please come, listen, talk, ask questions. It would help. Thank you.
You really just touched my heart, because I remember when you first came to the workshop, the very first workshop you attended, you could barely speak. You was like taken by grief. You could barely utter a word. It was very difficult for you. And to witness you speak so freely and so authentically from the heart to that sister or sisters who will hear you and connect to what you're saying based upon your own experience is just so honest. And you could only speak that truthfully based upon firsthand experience. The confidence in your self-expression is coming from that you know what you're speaking about because you've went through it. As for all of us, it was not easy, those initial stages. And to have the strength and the courage to put yourself in an environment that fosters healing. I feel like a protector of the widow woman who wants to move through her process at her pace and not at the pace or the opinions of others, but with the well wishes and intentions of them. I speak for this sister who family wants her to get married immediately after her spouse, and the sister doesn't want to get married just yet. I speak for the sister who feels ashamed to cry for her husband because it's a year later or 2 years later, 3 years later, however many years later, because of the harsh judgment that her community and her community could be her work environment, her family environment, the Muslim community from her masjid or wherever places on her. I speak for that sister who feels she has to hide her process because it's not according to the pace of some of what other people's opinions may think it should be. That is what I speak to. I sister who married her husband at his later ages, and she brought good joy in his life, but maybe his family didn't see her in the way that her husband saw her, who didn't get the support that she needed after her husband passed away. For that sister who was kicked out of her home, for that sister who what her husband left for her was taken from her. For the sister who felt like she didn't matter because she wasn't supported properly. To the sister who came from a loving and supportive family, she just wanted to be with her sisters and heal. For any woman who needs to feel validated as a wife after losing your spouse, so that she feels okay with where she is in her grieving process and her transition process. I want her to know that it's okay to move at your own pace, that you're okay to move at your pace and not the pace of your parents, your in-laws, your children, your community, your friends. No, it's your process. You lost your spouse. You go to sleep, you went to bed with that heartache. I've never experienced heartache until I had to lay down after my husband passed away, and I experienced heartache. And as Sister Latifa said, it gets better and it does get easier. I'm grateful that I didn't have to go through this process by myself. And I know you all, as you all attest to, didn't have to go through this process by yourself. And all the other sisters who attend the workshop didn't have to go through this process by themselves. And this leads me to my last point before we close out. We don't charge any of these widows to attend. We don't care what their income status, that's not our concern. We want this to be an ease for these women. And they're able to attend based upon generous contributions and sponsorship. And we are in our annual fundraiser. We want to give you an opportunity. Give you an opportunity to receive blessings from your Lord by being generous in your contribution and being one of those who look after the widow, striving in the way of Allah. So we're going to share with you how you can learn more about the Widow Support Group by going to heartsconnecting.com. Learn more about what we offer, because this is the first of its kind. There is no widow support group for Muslim women out here, not from the research that I've done. So we're doing something innovative, and it's a critical need for mental health. We actually go to Widow Support Group, heartsconnecting.com to learn more about the support group. We have a support group that's starting in January 18th. We invite you, sisters, to join, and for those who are listening who have a widow in their lives, to share this with them so you can read about it, learn about it, hear this, and she makes the choice of whether she wants to register or not. I'll ask you both this question. I'll ask that you do it in 30 seconds or less. Why should someone donate and sponsor and contribute to the Widow Support Group? Sister Rashida, then I'll close with Sister Latifa in 30 seconds or less.
It's a program that will help widows who lost their spouse. It's a program that you can come to and know that you're in a safe space. You can ventilate your feeling. You can cry, laugh, talk, whatever. It's a space, it's a place that you would come and get relief and go through that healing process. It's a safe space for that. That's why I'm saying that's the reason you should come. Because when I came, I thought I would not be at the stage I am right now, talking without really just can't get the words out because I'm so emotional, So it's a space for you to really, if you don't want to talk, that's fine. You just listen. Just listen. That's my word to any widow out there who need that feeling.
Thank you. And for you, Sister Latifa, like why should someone contribute and sponsor a widow and contribute their resources and donate to our group?
Because we need to let our actions speak for us and stop saying what we would do. You now have a chance to do. You heard Sister Tahira, and just what she's telling you is what we feel every time we're on there with her. She is a person that puts her heart into it, and we're not charged a dime. We are our sister's keepers, and it doesn't matter how small an amount you have or how large, it's put together. And that money will be used correctly to help us build the nation that we need to build, of sisters who are healed, who are whole, and who are helping others. I thank you in advance for whatever donation you make, and may Allah continue to bless all of you, sisters and brothers, as you give.
I mean, thank you so much. I appreciate you both. Thank you for being the collective voice and representation of the work that's being done, and for the sisters who are just not yet ready to share their story openly, and it's okay because they don't have to. So we thank you for representing the group. We thank you for showing up and contributing by your stories and you sharing. And I personally want to thank you both for the moral support that you give to me, because it's sometimes when you're doing something consistently, it can be easy to forget the impact, especially that it has on the community in which you're serving, especially when you are further along in your healing process. Like, I'm not at the day 1, week 1, month 1, year 1 after Antar passed away. So I'm stronger now. But with that, you all bring it right back home to the immediate impact of what these services provide. And you all really give a reason for me to continue to go that's beyond myself, and that's in the immediate. So I just want to really thank you from the bottom of my heart for your ongoing support. Really.
Thank you. May I just leave with something, sister?
Yeah.
I choose to live by choice, not chance, to be motivated, not manipulated, to be useful, not used, to make changes, not excuses, to excel, not compete. I choose self-esteem, not self-pity. I choose to listen to my inner voice, not to the random opinions of others. Let's make the right choice, sister.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, I'm like, let there be light. We have fun too. We laugh. We laugh. Yo, I appreciate you, Sister Latifah. That's our poet. She always throws in a beautiful poem, like right on time, whether we can laugh about it or we cry about it.
Yeah.
Learn more about Hearts Connecting, learn more about the Widow Support Group by going to heartsconnecting.com. And we just appreciate you for taking the time to view this video, and please share this. If you have any questions, you can go to heartsconnecting.com. You can contact us through our website contact section. Okay, assalamu alaikum. Sister Latifah, you are greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. And Sister Rashida, you are greatly appreciated. And thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.